Greetings to everyone who's watching. In this video, we share some of our experience in the field of dealings with the State Revenue Service. We discussed this practice area with our colleagues Elina, Cakste and Andrejs Eglitis, with whom we have worked together in this field for many years. I will say some words at the outset about the source of our experience. Elina will discuss some of the issues to be ready for at the pre-trial stage at the State Revenue Service, and then Andrejs will discuss some of the issues to keep in mind at the end of the trial stage, or during the trial stage. So let me fire away by saying shortly what our own experience is. We have had clients who were audited, inspected, and we got inspected ourselves, perhaps in revenge for being too hard on the State Revenue Service because we fought back very fiercely. I have to say, somehow we got lucky. We have had successful outcomes both at the State Revenue Service and also at the trial stage. So we have beaten the State Revenue Service in court. But about the pre-trial stage, Elina, over to you. What would be, let's say, 3 issues to look out for, to be ready for at the stage of inspection at the State Revenue Service? What can you say about that?
Yes, I would say that first of all, we as an office of attorneys have experienced by ourselves this unannounced visit to our door. So we have to be ready that somebody will come and say, we are from the State Revenue Services and we would like to look through your rooms and how you are working here and something like this. So it was a little bit shocking for us as well, but we have explained everything what we were able and wanted to explain and at this stage and in this visit.
And that happened to you personally. You were the one who they surprised. So basically, they knocked on the door completely unannounced and say, here we are, State Revenue Service. We want to see who you are, where you work, what your office is, and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
So like they actually inspected the premises. They came in, they checked our library, they checked chairs, desks, furniture, everything.
Yes, and the interesting thing in this was that they were not eager to say why they are coming actually and what is the purpose. So I was asking for explanations, but they were not interested in explaining it to me. So therefore, I was also a little bit, how to say, I was not so eager to explain everything, of course, and I was not doing this, of course. So, yes.
And when this investigation started, the next item, so to speak, wasn't that the case that when a case is out of the ordinary, when they are confronted with something that they do not understand, something that is not usual for them, that's a potential problem, isn't it?
Of course, and it was a problem for us as a lawyers, as an office, and also for our clients. If there's something is like they don't understand, then they are suspicious. Actually, that this should be something even I don't know, not only unlawful, maybe even in that meaning that maybe even criminal, but it was interesting also in that meaning that we have to explain and to be very calm with them, and we have to understand that they are they have not worked in a businesses. Usually these people who are inspecting and they don't understand business at all, and then we have to explain and be very careful with them, and also with
so this
our
is actually the next item. explaining diligently and patiently and as soon as possible at the very beginning, right from the very beginning.
Yes, yes, you are absolutely right with this because the interesting thing is that they are usually giving us a very short time to reply, and actually, if you are not replying to them, then one more time they are suspicious on it. Why you are not explaining? Why you can't explain us everything very fast? Most probably you are not explaining because you would like to something to hide. So therefore, of course, a fast reaction in cooperation, I would say, with state revenue services is also needed.
So would you say that the suspicion should be expected in their behavior, that they are suspicious right from the moment when they knock on your door? They're suspicious.
Like this, because actually they're coming to you because they have some idea in their heads that something is done wrong in your side, and they are actually trying to prove their idea. So that this is kind of the strategy that they are following, and therefore it is kind of uh, kind of my work to explain that this and argue that this is not actually that what you are thinking about.
So ultimately, I suppose it would be fair to say, do not yield in, take your
Yeah.
stand, fight back. Because if you start yielding, if you start giving up, then what? We can safely say probably game over. So even though this is disappointing, even though this is hard work, even though it takes quite a lot of time, it takes explanations, documents, and persevering, but ultimately, I think we can say that ultimately it can be done, even at the State Revenue Service during this inspection.
Yes, yes, we have experienced it as an office also, that we have done it
Mm.
in the stage of state revenue services, and also I would say these are two things what we have to have in our minds. We have to be calm and to go further with our idea and strategy, and then we can win them.
Right. So bottom line is you can achieve success at the stage of investigation at the state revenue service. It does not
Yes,
necessarily have to go to court.
yes, but not always, maybe. But it is possible. In some cases, of
Right.
course, it is possible.
So now over to Andrejs. If unfortunately you're not successful at the state revenue service at that stage, then you have to prepare for trial. So this trial stage would be the next item. So I've put in challenging state revenue service decisions to their chief to avoid a trial. Would that be
Well,
something that?
yeah, that's basically the first step that you have to take, because this is according to procedure, your avenue that you have to take to then, if not successful, to go to the trial. And obviously, in that stage, everything that you have done in the audit or SRS inspection, this is where all of your explanations and arguments that you have provided beforehand start to play in, because this is where you start to argue and say why some arguments in the decision are wrong, or have been disregarded or completely left out of the argumentation. And there are cases where you can actually overturn the initial decision already in the SRS chief level. So there have been cases.
And we have seen
where,
that happening, right?
yes, we have seen that happening, and it's basically completely different legal standard that they say that yes, the auditor has disregarded applicable law, that the case law that they are referring is the old one and that there has been changes. So, and if you explain everything, so just basically,
so some hope exists. There is some hope.
there's some hope, yes. But then again, you shouldn't be discouraged from continuing your fight, because it does not always happen at the stage of State Revenue Service chief. So if you are, if you believe that this is actually your position is strong, then you go to the court. And we have seen the cases where only Court of Appeal is the first time where your arguments and your facts and everything else has been reviewed on the merits. So there have been cases where you are saying from the first day, look, this is like this transaction has been done for those reasons, and these arguments are completely disregarded. So there's no answer why you're wrong, or why is it not correct, or why would these circumstances not matter. And then
could we say that as an individual, as a taxpayer, you should be ready to move through the entire court system, because sometimes it takes going to the Supreme Court, and vice versa. The State Revenue Service is also prepared to fight it through the entire court system to the Supreme Court, and they wouldn't just drop. I personally have not seen a case where they would say at some appeal level that, okay, we were wrong, we're dropping the case. Once the process has started from their side, readiness to go through the entire court system, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I completely agree with that. And this is even more sort of surprising, because we have had cases where there's either new case law or the facts or have been made so clear by the court or the ruling that basically their position taken by the State Revenue Service will not stand, will not pass review of the court, and yet they still continue, and you have to basically live through all of the proceedings, and eventually you win, but it takes time. And I think it also has to do with the third item that you put on the list, is that because we have seen that sometimes these actions by the Court Revenue Service pays off because the court, on some occasions, basically comes to the help and aid of the State Revenue Service. And this one surprising development, I would say, is that you go to the court and you actually win an argument on the merits concerning why the decision of the State Revenue Service is wrong. So the court upholds your arguments and says, yes, indeed, this decision is not argued and substantiated correctly. But then, instead of just dismissing the case, they try to invent new arguments and basically help institution and find different legal grounds to uphold the result contained in the decision of the State Revenue Service.
And this happens not only at the Court of First Instance. We've seen it happening also at the Court of Appeal.
Yes. So it's something that in theory should not happen, and yet it does. And it, in fact, sort of turns on that you no longer argue and fight against the decision of the State Revenue Service, but you contest newly invented argumentation of the court. And
this is true not only for the State Revenue Service. We have seen this behavior in courts also in respect of the Register of Enterprises, for example.
Yes, that's something that you should expect in pretty much all administrative proceedings in the court.
Right. So to sum up, could we reasonably say that our observation is that it's likely a bumpy road? Success can be achieved, but you need to have readiness for initial disappointment and patience.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty much our summary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
You should
Okay.
expect
Well,
to have
then,
all those choices and bumpy road. But if you are determined and you feel that you have been wrong, then if you stay the course, you might end up with a win.
right. Well, then I'll say thanks to everyone who's been watching. And if you would like to find out more, if you get into trouble or whatever, feel free to contact us. Thanks again. Until next time.